I was wondering, I grew up in school and we studied evolution in school, and it was very realistic and seemed like that is the way it is. That we migrated and mutated into the human beings that we are today. The scientists I've been reading have said that, like, their fossilization studies on actually how old things are, they're not really sure if they're correct anymore. Like, they're not sure if it's 65 million or 100 billion years anymore. Are we ever going to know for sure? I mean,
Well,
is it ever going to be totally proven that there's no God?
well,
see what I'm saying?
Can I take the God question first?
Yes, sir.
In order to disprove something, you have to have a solid definition of what it is. And the problem with God is that believers tend to describe him in very, very vague terms, so that he's inherently untestable, as he's described. That doesn't mean there's good reason to think that he exists. It just means it's such a nebulous concept that how are you going to disprove a thing like that? Right?
Yeah.
Also, on this, in answer to your straightforward question, I don't think we're ever going to know all of everything. In fact, as I understand information theory, that's probably not possible to know all of everything. That doesn't mean it's not worthwhile fighting to learn as much as we can. Nor does it mean that we should look with skepticism, with serious skepticism on everything we think we know. We just need to be prepared to go back and revisit when we encounter evidence that things we thought were true before might not be. And third, it's not like religion offers any alternative. So, you can complain or wistfully wonder, well, will science ever tell us everything? Will science ever be a discipline where we know things for sure? But it's not like, the answer is probably no, but it's not like religion offers us anything anywhere near as good. It's got all of the uncertainty and all of the change over time, but without any basis in evidence to justify the beliefs that you have at any point in time.
Okay. I just believe that, from reading the Bible, I've read it, I've been at theology school and all that. Well, my point is this. Everybody who is non-atheist, it's not, I shouldn't put it that way. I don't have anything against you guys. You guys have the right to believe what you want to. But Jesus did walk the earth. There's many scrolls that were written by colleagues that weren't even Christians, people who persecuted the Christians, people who didn't like Jesus, Romans, other countrymen from other countries, things from Egypt. I mean, there's documentation that Jesus of Nazareth was born and walked on the earth.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that he was God's son.
Actually, no. I mean, there is a relatively small body of works that are pointed to by believers as evidence of Jesus. None of them is from a direct witness. Many of them, it's entirely questionable whether they're talking about the same particular character. And most of them are only mentioning that, well, there are these guys going around calling themselves Christians, as if that was proof that therefore there was a Christ. Now, I'm aware of things like Josephus and other texts like that are pointed at as evidence.
Yes, sir.
They're very, very, very questionable and sketchy. Yeah, I mean they. I've got something on that, too, if you want me to haul it out.
Yeah, even St. Paul, who wrote a whole lot of the post-gospel Bibles,
books. New Testament.
I think I've seen once it was mentioned that even Paul doesn't actually claim to have met Jesus while he was alive. He claims to have seen Jesus as a spirit, and that's... and that's hard to take at face value, and it's what a large section of the rules of Christianity are based on, is just his word for it.
The fact that he died a martyr, and like he used to persecute Christians, what have you. I mean, killed them, beat them, flogged them, and then all of a sudden he like turns his whole life around. Why would he do that?
Assuming it's true, not as made up as that guy who's all over the news right now with his book about his drug addiction.
Who's that?
Turning out to be largely made up. I mean, people do make stuff up. Even if that's not true, we're back to the question of inspiration. Just because a set of beliefs is inspirational doesn't mean that they're accurate.
Right. I mean, it's a well-known fact that people believe crazy things that people believe, I shouldn't say crazy, people believe false things and are willing to die for them. I mean, just look at, let's see, a few years ago we had some people who flew planes into buildings because they thought that this would make God really happy. It's certainly not a remarkable claim that somebody could suffer and die for something they really believe, and it could still be wrong.
What about the historical content of the Jews period?
What do you mean?
I mean, is the historical facts of the Jewish culture from way back, is it true or not?
No, I mean, we're not saying anything about whether the historical facts are wrong. I mean, like, if I were a future historian, I could pick up a Spider-Man comic, and I could look in that Spider-Man comic and say, look here, Peter Parker, this guy lives in New York, right? New York's a real place. This panel here clearly shows him climbing up the Empire State Building. We know the Empire State Building really existed. I'm pretty sure some comics even refer to real current events, like at some point Peter Parker might say something about President Bush. They could go, yeah, that's a historical fact. None of that has any bearing on the fact that there's no Spider-Man.
Except in comic books.
The point is, it's entirely possible that is the Spider-Man. The Spider-Man analogy is evidence that human beings are entirely capable of writing works of fiction, incorporating facts. Just because the facts are facts doesn't make it all fact.
And at that time, we're not talking about correlating ancient history. We're talking about people writing things that take place in the context of the society where they really live. I mean, it would be a really hard thing to do to not only make up a bunch of supernatural stuff, but also make up a completely fictional nation where they all live. Why bother?
Right. We should probably move on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because we've had you on for a long time. Thanks,
yes.
Thanks, DC.
Appreciate you.